Get fired up on the WFO line.
WFO, Joe.
954-889-6796.
Just been an absolute joy to be a drag racing fan.
Go wide open, and your call may be used on the show.
Or preface by saying I'm not a Kurt Busch fan or apologist. I don't know where Greg Anderson's ego has gone, but I know one person that's going to be a big-time villain in pro stock.
That's 954-889-6796. That phone line is always WFO.
All right, time to jump into it. Joining us now, we're talking pro stock with Shane Tucker, who joins us from all the way across the globe. Shane, welcome to WFO Radio. How are you?
Good, Jay. How you doing, man?
Thanks
for having me.
I am great. Thank you for coming on. I am excited about 2019 for a million reasons. One of the reasons I'm excited is that, pro stock, we got this new schedule, and you are jumping in with both feet. Tell us about what you're going to be doing.
I guess with the shortening of the season, it was always a stretch for us to run 24 races. We were sort of a 10 to 12 race car. And when they made the announcement they were going to shorten it to 18, it was sort of, we looked at it basically like, well, we could probably look at the 18 race schedule and make it feasible for us. A lot of the guys in pro stock run businesses, so they make it difficult, to stretch out to 24 races a year. It's almost every second weekend, basically. So for us, traveling from Australia and back is difficult, but I'm going to base myself in Dallas between the races and sort of work out of our office there. So, I'm excited about it, man. It's just one of those things, I guess, when you're a part-time racer, you compete against guys that, race week in, week out, and straight away you're behind the eight ball. I mean, some of these teams, they'll do 100 laps before they'll even go to the first race. And I don't reckon I've made 100 laps in the US over 5 years.
Right. And that's a seat time. Seat time, exactly. All right, we got a couple of different layers I want to unfold because we have many listeners in Australia and New Zealand, and I understand that drag racing is very popular there. But compared to here, we're just a lot more popular. But you had great success down there running an Australian pro stock, which uses small blocks, if I understand correctly. And you've been kind of getting your foot in the water, and you've ran here a lot and made a lot of moves. Really want to be here. That's what I get out of it. I think of guys like Richie Crampton. I think of others. You want to be here badly and are going through a lot of different changes over the past 4 years to make your American racing career, to launch it.
Yeah, man, it's just, we had a lot of success out here in Australia, around here from when I was 19 till I was basically 28, 29, so about almost 10 years. And won some big races, didn't quite win the championship. I think we finished second in our first year by 5 points. But yeah, man, made the transition to come to the US, and it's the pinnacle of any motorsport really around the world. So we want to be there. We want to be competitive too. We like you mentioned, we ran well out here, and we used to run up the front. So when you go to a race, you don't have any intentions to go in and make up the numbers. That's for sure. We want to be up there competing for round wins and potentially race wins. So for that to happen, man, you got to have all the right pieces in place, and it's been definitely a challenge. I'll tell you that much.
Yes, and there are trials and tribulations of things that happen, were going to happen, didn't happen, that, will definitely make you lose sleep. But I'm a big believer in that, things happen for a reason, and you have got a great partner on the engine building side of things in Nick Ferry. Talk a little bit about Nick, how that program came together for 2019.
Yeah, well, I guess I've known Nick many years ago, about 2008. I actually, after I ran my first season in pro stock in Australia, I was in conversations with Victor Cagnazzi when he had his program running, and Vic brought me over as a development driver, basically. Unfortunately, things didn't come to fruition with sponsorship. It was a very tough time then in the US, as everyone knows. From a sponsorship standpoint. And at that point, Nick was actually in the shop doing the motors for Jeggy and Dave. And so I've known Nick very, very long time. And then Nick sort of went out on his own, did his own deal with the Dodge guys, and then I guess ended up back at Mike Edwards when Mike won championships. And I guess from then he moved to to Elite, where I ended up started leasing motors in 2014 when I first started back in the US. So we've got a fairly long history together. I've got a lot of respect for Nick. It's sort of, Nick's resume speaks for itself. Wherever he's been, the team has been successful. So we're very, very excited about it. Very, very excited, actually. So to have someone like Nick's caliber on board and working with us on the engine program is an exciting thing. I mean, you can be the best driver in the world, but if you got no power, I mean, you ain't never going to win around.
So true. No, it's the purity of it is amazing, and you've already proven that you can turn the clutch loose. It's just about getting the right team in place, and you've got the power now, or at least you're going to be working on getting the power, which is great. I'd like to expand a little bit on the 18-race schedule and kind of get your thoughts on that, because everywhere I go, Shane, I've got someone coming up to me asking about Pro Stock, which I think is great for the category. It shows there's a lot of interest, even in a schedule change. It sounds like a lot of people are concerned, but for every person that is concerned, I've got two that tell me the schedule change is a good thing.
Look, like I said, from my standpoint, being a part-timer, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think you're right, Joe, when you say, for every one that's concerned about it, you probably got two that are going to step back into it. I mean, one perfect example was Bo Butler. I mean, Bo stepped away from it, and within a couple of weeks of making the announcement, he probably thought it was feasible enough that he could come back into it and run 18 races. I mean, and that's a top 4 car. He won the championship a year ago. So, I guess from a part-timer's point of view, I think it's a great thing. Some of the full-time guys are probably not as ecstatic about it, being that they probably have sponsors that they need to please over 24 races, which I completely understand too. But I mean, from a I guess spectator point of view too, they want to see full fields and they want to see competitive qualifying as well. So, I mean, I can't see it being a bad thing. I guess we're going to see in the first few races how many cars show up in Pomona and Phoenix and whatnot.
Exactly, and the proof will be in the pudding at that, right? That you can't. We'll see what happens. But anecdotally, at PRI and others, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of positive things. Maybe even talking about getting involved after, like you said, with Bo. Perfect example. He changed his mind, turned 180, and now he's back, and that is a good thing. Let's talk a little bit about Azmet Architectural. In that, the logo, the business, we see it. You're involved in drag racing. But, what do you guys do? I want to know more about the architectural business that funds your racing or enables you to go racing, because, frankly, if you're trying to grow here in the States, it's good to know about it.
Yeah, so I started the company here in Australia 10 years ago, and we initially started selling particular metal panel material that was offered in the sign industry. And used for external, siding on buildings. From that, we expanded into getting into the installation process, and then we ended up turning into a full turnkey firm that did everything from procure the material, fabricate, and site installate, and then offer warranties and whatnot to the builders. So in 2014, we ran our first season in NHRA, and after the US Nationals on the Tuesday morning, I had an email from our sales team that contacted me and said, "Listen, we've got an interesting email here from a architect firm in Texas. You probably want to have a read of it." And I guess you take it with a grain of salt whenever we get these emails with these inquiries. You think, okay, how serious can it be? Well, it turns out the architect firm was a 40-year firm, and the guy who reached out was the principal for the firm. And he was a huge drag racing fan. He grew up in Indianapolis and now resides in Texas and does a lot of big projects over there, and suggested that if we were looking to set up in the US, then Texas is a fairly thriving market in the construction industry. And it was a big step, man. I mean, setting up a business anywhere is tough when you're in the same country, but going across, another continent is a whole other feat. It's been a challenge. Texas is a bit of an old boys club when it comes to construction, so which is a good thing. I mean, once you're in there, you're in. But it took a lot of hard work and a lot of years and grinding and whatnot, and had to prove our stripes for sure to get in there. So our business now, we basically hard bid a lot of the projects directly to the GC, and we cover anything from metal panel install. So, for example, on your car dealerships, you'll see the Chevrolets have got a lot of blue features around the entries. That's specifically the product that we do. It's called aluminium composite material. So we design and install that particular material, louvers, sunshades, glass windows, basically anything on the external facade of the building. That's us. So it's gone from strength to strength. We've got 2 facilities in Dallas now, and we're looking to open a 3rd facility in Houston. So it's exciting, man. The construction industry in Texas is booming, and we're here to take full advantage of it.
That is great, and I appreciate you giving us a little window into the world that happens, between like late Monday afternoon and Thursday morning, in between NHRA national events, right?
Yeah, exactly. And look, the racing side of it, it's strategically a business for us. We've had huge success with our hospitality events that we've held in Dallas. We utilize our race program specifically to entertain our guests when we come to town in Dallas. It looks like we're probably going to expand that this year. We've got a new glass handrail product that we're launching around the US called Struck Glass, which is actually the first of its kind anywhere in the world. It's a glass balustrade that can go up multi-stories, over 45 stories, that doesn't require a steel top handrail. So it's pretty unique product, and we're looking to push it around the US, and we're probably going to utilize the race program to do that as well. So we're excited about it, man. We can't wait. And NHRA has been good to us on that front, and we're looking to, like I said, push that program a little bit harder this year.
Oh, well, I think it's great, and that's one of the things is this common bond that we all have, you, me, the listeners to this podcast. Like, we have this passion for drag racing cars, and you're certainly putting your money where your passion is to go out there and compete, hopefully for the countdown and for championship. But in the end, like someone was watching you and reached out and involved themselves in your profession. I think that speaks volumes of the power of what's going on in the pits at a drag race.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. It's one of those things. As a kid, when I was growing up, and got involved, as I mentioned, with Victor Cagnazzi years ago. Unfortunately, that sort of deal didn't come to fruition, and it shoots you down when you're a kid, 21-year-old kid. All you want to do is go race. So you have your doubts about the marketing side of things, but like you said, I'm a big believer things happen for a reason. And just exactly that, when this opportunity came around with an architect firm, it was one of those things that it took a little longer to come full circle. It's about 5 years. But, I'm certainly a firm believer in it now. I've seen it firsthand with my business now, and obviously that opportunity that presented itself with an architect in Dallas for sure.
Great stuff. All right, let me ask you now. Let's back to the racing in that you got Power, Nick Ferry. What about the rest of the team? Like, who's going to make the chassis calls? Who's going to make the decisions between rounds? That kind of stuff. And you've been building a program. You've been kind of moving around. We understand why. Now that you've put down roots, tell me who the principals are going to be.
Yeah, so one of the other exciting things, I guess, working with Nick is Jeff Isbell out of Utah is running a full schedule this season. And being able to run with another car, I think, is a huge advantage in pro stock, well, in any professional class. Being able to share some information between the two, I think, is huge. And that's going to be one big advantage. But from our team standpoint, Tommy Lee has been calling the shots on our stuff for the last couple of seasons. That won't change. And my dad, Rob's, going to sort of oversee the engine maintenance side and also the tune-up side as well. And then on Jeff's side, Jeff's got Taylor Chemiskey and Gary Chemiskey, who's been around these things, for as long as I've been alive, just about. So those guys got an abundance of experience over there, and it's. I think the boys all working together is really going to be an interesting opportunity. I think they're going to do well. it's one of those things, man. It's a fresh team. It's all new. So hopefully everyone worked well together and we can have some good success.
Oh, I think it's going to be great. Now that you're in, though, and not that you haven't been in, you've been in and a part of the tour. We certainly, I miss you when you guys are not out there. There was like a period where you weren't, and then you came back, and I think it's great. You certainly add some character. But there's now some sort of a level of ownership in the category with this huge investment that you guys are putting in. Is there something else that you think needs to be addressed, you would like addressed? Like, I'll give you one. We got to have a Mustang or two. And I was looking, you're going to run Chevy Camaro. And I know that there's, rumors who's going to have a Mustang body now that all the the power plants are all the same. Is there anything that you'd like to throw on the table that you'd like to see that you think that Shane Tucker thinks would be a benefit to the category to keep it trending in the right direction or started trending in the right direction?
Certainly, I think you're on the right track, man. Getting a few more manufactured bodies in there is important. I mean, in the end, in Nitro Funny Car, there's 3 or 4 different manufacturers running bodies, and we know they're all not running a Toyota motor or a Chevrolet motor. So, I think they've definitely made the right call, allowing the other manufacturers to run whatever motor. From a core hardcore NHRA fan, there might not be a lot of people pleased with that, but for the majority, I think they'd love to see the Ford versus Chevrolet battle again, and get some Dodgers competitive involved in there for sure, man. And getting new fresh faces involved too. I think once the season starts and everyone's sort of waiting for the season campaigners to sort of see how it all washes out. And I'm pretty sure, 3 or 4 or 5 races in, we're going to see a couple more teams full-time start to jump back into it. I know there's been rumours some guys that have been full-time in the last 2 or 3 years, took some time off for sort of making some noise that they want to come back to. So that's exciting to hear. And I think come mid-year, you're probably going to see some very, very full fields.
That is great. I am looking forward to it. Now, are you guys going to test before Pomona? Are you going to test, what's your schedule as best as you can tell us?
Yeah, well, I plan on being back the Super Bowl Sunday of Phoenix, and I think on the Monday, Tuesday, we've got a test session scheduled for Phoenix, and then on Wednesday, I'm going to be in Pomona for the PR day, and all going to plan, we'll be in Pomona for the first race, and hopefully we'll be there being competitive as well. So I'm excited, man. It's something that's been a long time in the works, and finally I think the pieces are starting to fall into place. We just got to, keep our head down and keep digging.
What are the goals? Obviously, everybody wants to win the championship, right? Okay, start of the season, we're all tied for the lead and last at the same time. But I'm sure you've been successful in life by setting goals and achieving them. So what do the goals look like from this point?
I think we've got to be realistic in the goals that we've set early on in the season. First step's going to be getting the car consistent and reliable in testing. And then hopefully by the time we go to Pomona, we're in a position where we can qualify. And when you qualify, you get in the top 16, realistically, you got to be within 2 or 3 hundredths of the top car to have a chance. I mean, without them having to make a mistake, you could be, there's probably 16 drivers that can be 20 or better on the tree every round. So it's going to be tough for you to be outside of 2 or 3 hundredths and have a chance of, getting a round win. So, we need to be within striking distance going into Pomona if we really want to compete for round wins. And then, from then on, if we can get the car consistent and keep moving forward, I'd like to think that, a few races into it, we can start competing for race wins. And then, the sky's the limit from then on. got to stay consistent.
Very exciting. Shane, I want to thank you for coming on WFO Radio. I love the fact that you're investing in the sport of NHRA drag racing. You're investing in our country. You guys are coming in. You've been part of the community for a while now, but to see you expand that involvement, it's heartening and it's great and it's exciting for what we got coming in 2019. I wish you the best of luck, of course. That maybe the next time we speak on WFO Radio, it will be after a victory. And get your winter view logged in, right? And we talk a little bit about what happened on a race day where you achieved the ultimate success. I know you got the talent and ability, just a matter of the right pieces in place, and it looks like you've done a whole lot to make that happen. So congratulations on all of that, and thank you for coming on our show.
Thanks very much, Joe. I reckon that interview might have a bit of a headache after that one, but I look forward to it.
Listen, you know what? It's funny you bring that up because 10 years ago, people were saying that the drivers were like these corporate robots that didn't have personalities. And now we've got Steve Torrance, we've got J.R. Todd, we've got all these character guys like yourself, a character, clearly has fun, will definitely have a headache after a great victory, is not afraid to speak their mind, brings a certain image and character to the sport. We've got a lot of cool people. You're certainly one of them. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, mate, what you see is what you get. I'm excited, and I tell you what, if we ever get an opportunity for a round win, then everyone at the race better be there because it's going to be a big party. So thanks, Joe. Appreciate your time, man.
Thanks, Shane. Shane Tucker with us here on WFO Radio. Very excited that they are going to all be out there in the 2019 season for 18 races and run for the championship and get after it. Nick Ferry providing engines and going to be very interesting. You know, Shane is a character. He's a character. He's an interesting individual. He's a character. They got a whole crew out there and, likes to cut up and have fun and goof around. And he's also a very serious person. I was very interested in hearing about the business, Azmet Architectural. Like, what do they do? And when he pointed out the facade or whatever you want to call it on the Chevy dealerships, I knew exactly what he was talking about. That's what they do. Interesting. And of course, I wish them the best. And, coming into the States to try to do well and going to advance his program in drag racing, I think all good on the Shane Tucker front. I wish them good luck. And thanks for coming on the show.
This is WFO Radio.